and let's go here. Oh, crap. All right. You're going to love this jingle.
I like it.
Howdy and aloha. Welcome to Manatawk. The earth and you are ohana. We hope you stay and talk. That is so corny. I love it. I love the corniness of it. Anyway.
America! Demand your MTV! Okay. I want my MTV!
I want my MTV.
Oh, that's good. That's not working. I still am working on my technical stuff, but let me get out of the gallery. Anyway, howdy and aloha, everybody. This is James with Montauk, and I have a little show called Montauk. I got a lot of people on here from all over the country. We talk about political issues, things that matter. My core that I'm trying to do is just save the planet and all of its inhabitants. That's what I basically do. But every once in a while, we get a very prestigious celebrity on our show. And as you can already see, and hopefully everybody can see in the YouTube, that I have Ron Placone here. Ron, thank you so much for coming on. This is awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Aloha,
I don't think prestigious or celebrity fits me. I don't think either one of those things are accurate, but I'm very flattered. I'm very flattered. Thank you. That's
awesome. So right now, you are involved with it's a marathon that's going to go on after this show. Sir Chad, or the official Sir Chad, his YouTube channel is going to carry this on. The discussion is Jesse Ventura, who many think he's a liberal capitalist, which in some cases may be true, in some cases, but I think he's moved more left than usual recently. The man learns, he evolves and grows like most of us. For example, me, I used to be a Republican 10 years ago, then I saw this kid Obama, and then all of a sudden I became a Democrat, and then all of a sudden I became a Bernie-crat, and then, and the next thing you know, I'm here with the Green Party. I'm a standing General Assembly member, a media committee member for California, and I'm doing whatever I can to boost the party that has, to be nice, 300,000 registered voters across the United States. With the two-party oligarchy, I like to call it, they have about 150 million. So there is a difference, and we could definitely use the boost. So anyway, how are you doing, and what's going on with you? And if you have anything to chime in regarding Jesse, please go ahead. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm doing great. My cat's a little excited. I guess she's a big she's a Green Party enthusiast herself, actually. Being a cat, she actually writes about how the Green Party is the only party that speaks to our feline friends. So that's true. Actually, I write comics in my cat's voice, and that actually is one of the comics she wrote. But yeah, man, I'm doing great. First of all, thanks for asking. And as far as Jesse goes, I'm sorry I don't have anything like more kind of poignant in regards to that. But I think if the guy wants to run, I think he should. If he doesn't want to run, then he shouldn't. I mean, running for president is a pretty heavy burden. So I think if somebody's not really into the idea, then it's probably not a good idea to kind of push them into it. Now, this is coming from somebody who attended the Draft Bernie movement, but that wasn't to draft Bernie to run for anything particular. That was to draft Bernie to start a new party. But I think that Jesse Ventura, he's a very likable person. He has a lot of ideas out there. He certainly has, a history and a body of work. So I do think that could be positive for the Green Party. So I think he would be kind of a good candidate for 2020. As far as is he the best one or not, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of too early to say. I will say this too, as somebody who likes Jill Stein, and I like Jill, I do think there needs to be two fresh new faces. Just because, I mean, if she were to go again, it would kind of be like, okay, it's pretty much just Jill Stein at this point, So I do think that As much as I like her, and especially post-election, I've grown to like her even more with the way she's handled all the nonsense over at MSNBC, for instance. Some really admirable responses by her. But I do think you kind of need some different faces at this point.
Oh, that makes great sense. There's so many candidates that once I brought this up to just a few people on the Green Party, I actually got a lot of friction, right? I got some pushback, but then I have a lot of people that are saying that threw other candidates at me in regards to for POTUS, but as far as VP, a lot of them like the Jill Stein theory. Right now, what's going on in the party is they really just want to start the conversation just to see what his interests are, what are his intentions, can he get close or I mean, I don't think they're looking for the perfect candidate, but they would at least like to start the conversation to see if he can align with their values. And there's 10 key values and 4 pillars and commandments and all these other things that the Green Party has. At times it's kind of confusing, but at this present time, we just would like to get to know if he would do it. And since he stated on Jimmy Dore like 3, maybe 4 months ago that he would, be interested in going with the Green Party run, there's a kid named Will Pounds who contacted me about a month prior to that about Jesse running Green Party. And he brought this up, and he was like a fly. Get away, get away, get away. What are you doing talking about Jesse? So I've done the research ever since he was on Jimmy Dore. And everything I've learned, everything that we've presented in this project that we've created, more people have jumped aboard, more people have understood the value. And at this time, it seems doable. We just need to talk to the guy. Simple. We got to know where his head's at. So once that happens, things will definitely be moving forward. In regards to the future of the party, do you see other candidates that might be? I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Mark Lamont. He's good. We've heard of.
I've heard the name.
Cynthia
I'm not
McKinney.
really familiar. As far as some of the Greens out there that I'm kind of excited about, I'm sort of more kind of localized. And keep in mind, I'm somebody, I don't really subscribe to one party or another. I haven't formally Green entered. I'm certainly not a Democrat or a Republican either, and I'm not a Libertarian. And but I like pretty much all the progressive groups. I consider them all allies. Everything from the Green Party to Socialist Alternative to the DSA and so forth. And some of the Greens in particular that I'm excited about, Kenneth Mejia here in the Los Angeles area.
Yes.
He made the runoff in his district. He has a long road ahead of him, but he's a good speaker. He's inspiring. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got the right ideas, and I think he's got a shot. And I told him, via text, via email, I was like, look, anything I can do to help, I will. And I think that also goes to the Jimmy Dore show. I think I can speak freely in regards to Kenneth that, the entire show supports him. We've had him on a couple times. I've had him on my show, Get Your News On with Ron.
Yes.
So, in my little corner, I'm going to do everything I can to help the guy. And I'd love to see him pull out a victory. There was another candidate that unfortunately did not advance, named Angelica Duenas.
Oh my God, she was on my show. I didn't get to know her, but go ahead. Sorry.
She's great, and I love Angelica, and her husband's a wonderful guy too. They're just wonderful, wonderful people, and so I don't know what the future holds for her as far as her political career goes, but I would like to see her come back in some capacity. I mean, she didn't make the runoff this time around, but I think she's the kind of person that people want to get behind. And then there were some other people that just had some really interesting ideas, but just didn't get the kind of traction behind them that I would have liked for them to have gotten, like a Rachel Brunke.
Oh, yeah.
She has some really good ideas, and I think I sincerely hope she continues working as a community organizer. because she has some great ideas, and those types of ideas would be an asset to any community in the country. And I think acting locally is the best way to act anyway. You know, I don't know what she's going to be up to next, but you know, she's somebody else. So yeah, I mean, those are just the first couple names that come to my mind as far as screens go.
There's so many people out there that really want to make the change necessary for the 99%, and a lot of people kind of forget that term, those numbers, the 99%. And when I do bring up Jesse, he's brought up the 99%. When I brought up people like Kenneth Mejia, who's an amazing kid, that guy is freaking amazing, full of energy, spot on, amazing. He definitely is looking out for those people. Also, there's another one, I don't know if you heard of him, his name is Rodolfo Baragas Cortez.
I have heard that name.
He was on my show as well, just brilliant kid, a doctor.
Well, and another person worth noting is and I feel very bad because I'm blanking on her last name, but Constance,
I always forget her last name. Somebody will put it in here.
The candidate running for governor of Ohio.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people, and again, I don't have any evidence, solid evidence for this yet, but I do think there was more foul play in Dennis Kucinich's primary than we know about. I feel like there's gotta be. I just feel like there's no way Richard Cordray beat him by that much. I find it incredibly hard to believe. And when you know, I had two of his main staffers on my show, and they were denied a lot of data that they asked for, as far as the hand results, as far as any voter purges that may or may not have taken place.
May or may not have.
Right. They were denied access to a lot of stuff that they rightfully and lawfully had access to. Right. So, you know, the natural next question is, well, what are you guys trying to hide? And again, you know, I'm not trying to speak in absolutes because I don't want to make claims that I don't know to be 100% factually true. But, you know, the skeptic and the speculation side of me is saying, I just think there's no way that was an honest primary that took place. So I think you have a lot of people on the left that are very, very disenfranchised by Cordray just as a candidate because he's a terrible candidate, but also because you know, they're really hungry for a true change, and they really felt like Dennis was a good chance. And you know, this is a guy too, you know, looking at the flaws in the Democratic Party, which, I mean, flaws is an understatement for what the Democratic Party is these days. But you know, I mean, Dennis has been screwed over by the Democratic establishment his entire political career. And he is the first politician that ever excited me in my lifetime. You know, I mean, my first presidential vote was for John Kerry. I wasn't really voting for John Kerry. I was voting against George W. Bush.
Yes.
You know, I couldn't really tell you what Kerry really stood for because there wasn't a lot of policy talk for him. It was just, he's not George W. Bush, and George W. Bush is freaking awful. So when I was excited about Kucinich in 2008, you know, talking about our personal political revolutions or whatever, I was excited about him. You know, I mean, I was stoked for him. The ironic part about all of it is, you know, I did get behind Obama because Kucinich didn't win. So I thought, well, Obama is, you know, the second best choice compared to, you know, this other stable compared to Clinton or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'll go for Obama. That's where the pulse of the country is. I can accept that.
Why not?
Well, and he delivered, the platform that he delivered wasn't half bad. It wasn't, or the platform that he spoke on, excuse me, wasn't half bad. Yeah. The platform he delivered
saying and doing are definitely two different things.
Right. I mean, you know, I tell people he spoke about a center left platform. He delivered a right wing one. That's just factually what he did. And he is, by his own admission, a moderate Republican. The sad part about all that, he's still technically the best president of my lifetime.
Yeah, I know.
And when I say the best, I just mean he caused the least damage, comparatively speaking, depending on how you want to look at it. But I would argue overall, he was not as bad as Clinton. He was not as bad as Bush the first or Bush GW, and he was not as bad as Reagan. So he was technically the best president of my lifetime, which is sad. I mean, that's not necessarily a compliment to Obama. That's more of a commentary on how sad the state of affairs is.
Yeah, everybody else. If there was a pyramid, he would just be at the top because he was a great spokesperson and a great salesperson.
He was an incredibly likable dude. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure
he was
if
like,
I had a conversation with
I was
him
just like
right
drooling every
now,
time he spoke. I was drooling out of my mouth.
he would win both of us over right now.
I know.
He's just got that kind of charisma. But what
Charisma.
can you do? So yeah, man. I mean, I think that this is a good opportunity for all other the Green Party, or whether a new party is going to happen. I kind of just sort of support an all the above approach, and whatever really starts to take form, I can get behind. I have the debate on whether green entering is a good strategy or not. There's good points to be made on all sides of the coin. But those that have made that decision, like yourself, that are in the Green Party, I think it's awesome. You're doing everything you can to move the party forward and to get people excited about it.
Yeah, that's my as a media committee member. I've encountered many things that they're doing that they've done since '84, and my question to them always is, how has that worked out for you? Right? I mean, you've got to look at these other business models and say, what are they doing right to bring millions upon millions upon millions of people into their party? So they're starting to listen a little bit. They're starting to put up what everybody's discussing: full, comprehensive, universal health care for all with no copay, which Bernie put in a copay. It is, reducing the wars, stop creating wars, closing ghetto housing costs, housing prices, getting definitely money out of politics, reversing Citizens United, and getting rid of McCutcheon versus the FEC, which would probably be the first thing you'd want to do. But there's a lot of things that they're starting to throw out there. The person that we were talking about, Constance, her name is Constance Goodell Newton. Constance Goodell Newton. There's also somebody else that I wanted to bring up, which is very surprising, and she kind of came out of nowhere. Her name is Laura Wells. So California has 3 really good chances. There she is, Laura Wells, House District 13. Go to laurawells.org. She's also somebody that could really make a difference. And what people really don't realize is that there is a Green Party. There's a lot of people. There's 15%, and this is the study that I saw a long time ago. 15% of the U.S. voting republic, that's over 200 million people, don't even know there's a Green Party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is really sad.
Well, so, and here's the thing, and I mean, as an outsider, I don't really feel that it's my place to wag my finger one way or another, but just kind of trying to objectively break it down. Right. Are there some fair structural critiques of the Green Party that are out there? Absolutely. Are there some imperfections? Of course there are. But the Green Party is the one progressive party that has managed to get ballot access on all the states. And has managed to kind of stand the test of time. As far as the stigma that sometimes goes along with them, I understand the perspective, I really do, of saying, hey, why don't we try to break down that stigma by just starting a whole new party? I do get that. The other side of that, though, is that whether it's the Green Party or something new altogether, progressives are still going to get smeared by the establishment. The Green Party's just been the lightning rod for a long time now. So, I understand both perspectives. I don't claim to have the definitive answer yet because I think we're still seeing everything unfold here. And, we're still dealing with a very new kind of movement in many ways that I think the Green Party is very much a part of. I've always kind of identified as a fairly progressive dude. I was for single-payer healthcare as soon as I understood what it was, when I was in college.
Yeah.
I was incredibly opposed to Iraq and incredibly opposed to a economy based on war. I read Noam Chomsky and the lid was off. But for years, as long as I've been cognizant, I always felt like, well, the Democrats, even though I don't really think they speak for me entirely, I'm certainly to the left of them. I feel like they have a more practical, incremental way to get to where I want us to be. In recent years, I've learned that's not the case. I've learned that that's not true. The Democrats, at least the establishment Democrats, now some of the more progressive wing, of course, I am more in line with, and of course the DSA and stuff like that. But the Democratic establishment does not want single-payer healthcare. They do not want living wages. They do not care about ending fracking. In fact, they're expanding drilling. They aren't even to the left on social issues half the time anymore. They're not doing anything for unions, and they don't represent me at all. It's not that they're an incremental version of what I want. It's that they're not what I want. And, Bernie Sanders, whether you like him or don't like him, or and he's certainly not above critique either. There's certain decisions he's made I'm not a fan of. But Bernie Sanders was in the right place at the right time to unmask a lot of that and expose to me and to a lot of people like me that not only are the Democrats not our friend, but we're not as much of a fringe minority as far as political ideology as we thought we were in this country. There's actually a lot of us, and especially younger people. So
millennials.
Yeah, millennials. Which I'm a millennial myself, and so now that that's been kind of exposed, I mean, it's really changed the way I see things, and I'm no longer, I refuse to ever vote out of fear. Looking back, I actually never did, but if I ever would, I'm not going to now. And I'm not going to, kind of take this incremental blue no matter who approach. It's just not working. It's just broken, and it doesn't represent the people at all. We have a government that really does not represent what most people want. So it's time for true change, and that may come in the form of a mass amount of people green entering. That might come in the form of a new party altogether. That might come in the form of a lot of people acting locally. And really kind of going around electoral politics as much as possible. I think that
county by county, state by state.
Absolutely. I mean, and I favor acting locally as far as the things that I'm personally politically active on. I'm really trying to push a municipal internet where I live in Pasadena. That's something that I need public support for, and I do need support from city government for. But there's a number of ways I can go about getting that. And, right now I'm trying to get an actual proposal into the city to try to get more people on board. We got it on a municipal agenda. They told us we couldn't afford it, but they used one case study to make that decision. And the case study they used was Beverly Hills, one of the most affluent communities in the freaking country. So I argued that it wasn't the greatest case study on the planet. And there's more work that needs to be done before we decide we can't afford something.
Right.
What I would like to see happen is that I'll have the city on my side and then go to the public with their resources. But if I don't get that, which I might not, I can still go to the public on my own. I just have a longer ground game ahead of me. So, and that's the kind of thing. I mean, if everybody does a little bit in their backyard, and I'm not saying you have to show up to a city hall meeting and try to push through municipal internet.
But not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, and that's something that's particular to me.
And with a group of people, get prepared, get planned, take a football
I did
team
have
with
to,
you.
yeah. I mean, and I was luckier than some because I was able to announce it on the Jimmy Dore show, and I was able to announce it on my own show. So we did show up with a cluster of people to City Hall. So that did help me, sure. And that's something that's particular to me. I'm a content creator. I believe in a free and open internet. So I'm a firm believer of aces in their places. And for me, this is an issue near and dear to my heart. This is something that I've spent over a decade of my life analyzing and studying. I've always been into media policy and net neutrality, even before I was a comedian. So this is something that matters a lot to me. So it's something I decided to take up. For somebody else, it might be volunteering at a kennel a couple times a week. It might be doing something at a soup kitchen. It might be, passing out warm clothes to the homeless community when the colder months are upon us. Here in Southern California, you don't really need to do that right now. It's quite hot. But, before you know it, it's going to get cold at night again. And so yeah, I mean, I am a firm believer in acting locally. And for some, that may take the shape of running as a Green or as a Dem Enter or whatever else. And,
Wait, did you say running as a Green?
Yeah, running as a Green.
You running as a Green?
No, I am not. I said for some, it may take the form.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm not.
I was like, did Ron Placone just announce he's going to run as a Green?
No, I'm not running for anything as anything. I don't think running
That's
for
a lot
office.
of work.
Yeah.
Just me being in a lot that I'm doing with the Green Party, and I'm new to the party, new to politics, new to a lot of this. Actually, I had a blog talk radio show for about a year and a half back in 2014, started in January. Stopped for a while because I got destroyed by the Bernie situation, which people need to realize Bernie brought issues and narratives and talking points nobody was talking about. They're
He
like,
did.
what? What? So this is why I think Jesse would be good. He would bring things to the forefront, get the publicity needed to talk about things that nobody's really talking about or pushing under the rug. But that's the great thing about what Bernie did, is he brought a lot of those issues that the mainstream media somewhat had to be forced to recognize.
Well, I think another thing, trying to bring it back to the green, and yes, Bernie absolutely did do that, and that is something that we kind of all.
So I got to give him credit for that. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and I do too. And again, has Bernie done stuff I've disagreed with? Yeah, I wish he would have started a whole new party when the opportunity was right to do so.
Yes.
And I think maybe we wouldn't even be having this conversation because maybe there'd be a whole new party that would have absorbed the Greens and we'd have a whole new thing now. I think from a marketing perspective, that would be a good thing. And that's an argument that you just can't ignore if you're being realistic about the whole thing. From a marketing perspective, a brand new party with Bernie Sanders' face on it would be huge. That can't be denied. That's why I showed up at Convergence. And a lot of Greens were at Convergence too. We're all on the same team. But but it didn't happen, and that's that. But as far as getting it back to the Green Party, I think one thing, and again, this is coming from an outsider who is not a political strategist at all. I'm just a comedian.
Oh, come on now.
Dude, I like my wheelhouse where it's at. I'm a comedian, I'm a content creator, I like what I do. I don't have a desire for it to be anything bigger or smaller than that.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I want to expand my, I want to have more people find out about me, and hopefully they like me or not. But that's about it. So I do think though that one thing the Green Party could kind of use to their advantage is the fact that they have more unconventional people that kind of enter the political arena. I think a lot of the smears against them, that's been used against them to as a reason to not take them seriously. I say Yankee Doodle Dandy that shit. Put it in your hat. Am I allowed to cuss on this? I never asked.
Yes, we are PG-13, so fucking go for it, my brother.
All right, cool. Yankee Doodle Dandy that. Put it in your cap and say, yeah, we're not the conventional establishment. We're outside of that. So our people are organizers and activists, and they're not business people. They're not lawyers. Well, some of them have a law background, and that helps us. But, they come from other backgrounds, too, that has a history of getting things done on the local level, has a history of getting things done on the state level. And that's the type of experience they want to bring into office now. And those are the best types of people we want to bring into office, the people that want to better the community. Not the people that ran some bullshit scam university, not the people that have contracts with bomb manufacturers, not the people that just want to do Wall Street spitting, not the people that have been in Washington so long they have no clue what people are interested in. Right. The people that got it done on the ground already in different capacities that now know they can be effective sitting in office. Those are the types of people we want in office. I think people would be really open to that type of message. Because you know who did use that to win the presidency? Donald frickin' Trump. He brought this whole, I'm an unconventional guy in Washington and blah, 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 I'm going to drain the swamp. It was all a lie.
Oh, yeah.
He's establishment as usual, which we all, and I saw that coming because, this guy's a total plutocrat that's never had to work a day in his life. You expect him to be an outsider and drain the system? It's a bunch of BS. But enough people bought the snake oil because they want an outsider. So I really think that's something that the Green Party could kind of take and run with. Now, they have a lot of smears going against them. People really try to stifle that message. But, you just got to try to hope that the right people really get that out there and get it done.
We're working on. Here's the thing that I always battle with. I combat the Green Party tree huggers. And I go, yeah, I'm not actually a tree hugger. I'm a tree humper. I love trees, right? I'm going to do whatever I can to protect our trees, our lakes, our oceans, our water, and everything. We're all about ecological wisdom as one of our pillars and all that good stuff.
Well, and to respond to that, and again, I'm talking from the lens of trying to appeal to, Joe America. I'm a big environmentalist too. So, you've already won me over years ago. But I think that's where you guys really got to hammer home the Green New Deal. I
Yes.
mean, everybody, whenever they're arguing for this nonsense, fracking and pipelines, they always talk about the jobs. The jobs are very much overstated in most cases. Usually it's just a couple temp jobs that pay you a lot of money for a little bit of time, have a bunch of health risks associated with them. And then once the job's over, so is your employment. Meanwhile, a community is wrecked. I say harp on the Green New Deal. The only presidential nominee in 2016, who I voted for, by the way, that had a jobs bill was Jill Stein. She was the only person that had an actual jobs bill. Hillary Clinton didn't have one. Gary Johnson sure as hell didn't have one. Donald Trump didn't have one. Jill Stein was the only one,
Yep.
the only person. And of course, that message didn't get out there the way it needed to. But that was just the truth. She was the only one that had an actual jobs plan. So, I think the time is really ripe for a Green New Deal. And, the Green Party has really paved the way a lot in getting that platform out there. So I think they really need to scream it from the rooftops, scream it from the trees, if you will.
Yes, from the top of the pine trees. Those are the tallest that we have. I think,
That's right.
in
There you go.
California. Here's what's interesting is from my perspective, it seems as though the country and the planet is kind of catching up with what the values and what the Green Party has to offer. And I think a lot of other parties are starting to see that people starting to latch on to the understanding of climate change. They're starting to latch on and really get what universal health care can do for you. And to latch on, maybe I should make more than $7.75 an hour. Maybe I should be making $15 or $17 an hour. All these things that they and have people that are in offices that don't take corporate donations, that don't take super PAC donations, that don't take APAC donations or big coal or big oil or big pharma, and just want to just work for you, just want to do the job for the citizen. They're okay with getting that check of what they get paid in the House, in the Senate, or as an executive, and they just want to get that check, and they're fine. They don't need a billionaire yacht, a Hatteras. They don't need a property in the Cayman Islands. They just want to do the job and help people. And that's the great thing. And the mindset of a lot of the Greens is, and they refuse to even look in the direction of taking any kind of corporate donations, because they want to make sure that they're there for the people. That's what's amazing. And what people are starting, like I'm saying, what a lot of people are starting to really get is important. When you have those people out there that don't depend on the elite, the giant corporations, then the people themselves, or the 99%, start to become heard. They start to get, things get done for them. Like Kucinich, he got screwed over because in back, I think it was 2008, 9, 10, he was pushing single payer.
Yeah,
he was supposed to do something with Obama, and then Obama just kicked him under the rug. I remember.
Yeah, Obama threw him under the bus. I mean,
exactly.
He talked about that directly on the Jimmy Dore show. I mean, he pleaded with Obama to at least throw the public option in there, which, keep in mind, had we had, as flawed as the ACA was, had we at least had the public option in there, we wouldn't be facing the issues we're facing now. And we'd be closer to single payer than we would be to the AHCA. So he refused to do that, and then he redistricted Dennis Kucinich. That's what happened. And so, yeah, man, but I think people are really open to true populism right now. And, if history has given us any indication, we are due for a sharp left turn. I mean, we are mirroring Great Depression-like a Great Depression-like environment right now. And what happened after the Great Depression? Well, FDR happened. So, we're ripe for another radical change in this country. And if we don't get one, I don't know what's going to happen, because we've never seen anything like this. We've never seen a shift quite like this. It's been about 40 years of neoliberalism at this point. It's brought this country to its knees. We have a rich and poor gap that is arguably comparable to ancient Egypt. If we don't take a sharp turn,
we're going to start making pyramids pretty soon. I think that's.
I mean, honestly, I mean, if we don't take a sharp turn soon, like I don't know what's going to happen. That's why in 2020, I'm like, we can't just have some, run of the mill incrementalist centrist. And if we do, it's over. First of all, they're probably not even going to beat Trump. And second of all, it's like, I don't know what you can expect. I mean, we can't keep having years and years of just nothing getting done. It's reached ahead of, I think, no return. So, hopefully we'll make that turn again, similar to what happened, in the 30s and you had the rise of unions for a long time. Hopefully we have that, but we kind of get it right this time and have a thriving middle class that we don't let them take away from us.
The saddest, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but the saddest thing that I get on my end is I have a group, and there's several of them. They don't see the value of compromise. They don't see the value of negotiation. I mean, these other two parties have been doing it for a long time. I'm not talking about selling your soul to the devil, but what I am talking about is we just recently endorsed in California, we're endorsing other parties for the first time. Mm-hmm. For the first time, we just announced that in one of our press releases. So in order to work and play nice with all the kids, at the daycare, you have to freaking, compromise and negotiate and find common ground to where you can make something happen for everybody. So a little bit of give and take,
I agree with you 110%. And what I think we really need to do, we need to kind of take back what it means to compromise. Because when you hear in the corporate media and when you hear the Democratic establishment in particular, when they say compromise, what that's really code for is shut up and get in line with our agenda. Vote for us, because where else are you going to go? Your other options, the Republicans, they're terrible. We're the best you're going to do, so shut the hell up and vote for us no matter who we throw at you. If it's Joe Manchin, shut up. If it's Joe Donnelly, shut up. If it's Claire McCaskill, shut up. If it's Hillary Clinton, shut up.
Shut the fuck up, right?
That's what they mean by compromise. That's not compromise. It's not compromise to say this politician takes a bunch of corporate PAC money. That's whose bidding they're going to do, but they're less severe than this other person. That's not compromise. That's strategic corruption. That's what that is. And if you give those people your vote, you're saying I'm okay with this corruption. That's not. You know what compromise is? Compromise is. I'll give this as a for instance. Jim Keedy, great progressive out of New Jersey that got screwed over in his primary. Right. He should still be going, but unfortunately he got stopped. But I agree with Jim on pretty much every issue. I think he's a great progressive. I think he'd be great in office. Where we disagree a little bit, living wages. He does favor the fight for 15, much like I do. However, he thinks there should be a little bit of clause to implement it over more time for small businesses. Give them a little more time to get up to 15. I don't agree with that. I think that should be factored in as the cost of doing business. And if you can't do that, sorry. I think that's the way it ought to be. If you want to employ people and you can't pay them a living wage, then you have no business employing them. Or you need to, do other ways to make your labor. Either do the labor yourself because you have an investment in the business, or have contracts with other people where they're working with you in exchange for shares of the business, and they know the risk involved, and that's commonly understood, et cetera, et cetera. But is that issue enough that I wouldn't vote for Jim? No, I would still vote for Jim, of course. If I was ever in a position where I had the option to implement that type of policy or nothing at all, would I vote to implement that type of policy? Yes, I would. That's called compromise. That's what compromise is. Yeah. Maybe some small businesses think, gee, man, we can do 12 for a long time, but give us a little more time to get to 15. Well, I don't feel like that's morally the right thing to do, but I can meet you midway there because, if you want to give living wages, I can meet you midway there, give you a little bit more time to get there. Again, not a compromise I'd be thrilled to make, but I'd be willing to make. That's called compromise. That's compromise in politics. Compromise is when, hey, we got to budge a little bit on this thing because otherwise it's not going to have the support we need to get it through. But the principle of it is still there. That's called compromise. Passing Romney Care and giving a giveaway to the insurance industries, and then floundering on the public option when you had a Democratic majority, that's not compromise. That's corruption. There is a big difference. You know, all of the above on energy, it's not a compromise when that was code for, we're going to keep drilling, baby. That's what that was code for. You know, that's not a compromise. You know, a compromise would be, we want to wane off fossil fuels. So for every dollar we spend, you know, on oil and gas exploration, which the correct amount should be zero. But until we can get it to zero, every dollar we spend, we're going to spend $2 on wind and solar and sustainable energy. That would be a now that type of policy doesn't exist. I'm just giving it for instance.
It would be a good compromise.
Yeah, and by the way, the stuff that we get from fracking, that energy is not spent domestically anyway. It's shipped off, so all it's doing is padding the pockets of
and
the
destroying
oil
the water in the land.
and destroying the water in the meantime. So that wouldn't be a compromise. A compromise would be for every dollar of gas and oil we import, you know, we put money into building a sustainable infrastructure so we don't need to do this anymore. That would be a compromise. Yeah. So I think we need to take back what compromise really means.
Yeah, they've changed they've changed the definitions. And then I hear a lot of things about the word progressive. And this is something that I think a lot of people are really kind of getting confused on. For example, the Democratic Party right now is Democrat. It's the term Democrat attached to any word connected to it. Let's just to make it simple. So if it's a Justice Democrat or a I'm with you Democrat or a Peace and Freedom Democrat, what people are concerned in is it compromise or is it being co-opted if you become a Justice Democrat, next thing you know, you're running through the Democratic Party, they see the value in you, they start to support you, and next thing you know, there's some kind of co-opt in the future or the risk of being co-opted. And the word progressive gets thrown around a lot with a lot of Democrats that I don't believe are progressive at all.
Well, I mean, of course. Yeah, I mean, Nancy Pelosi the other day said she was progressive.
Oh, my God.
You know, compared to what? But, yeah, I mean, I don't even think the problem is so much like, oh, even if you are a good candidate, you'll be co-opted. I think that is an issue, sure. Yeah. But looking at a bigger picture, there's just so many things that are in place to prevent a true progressive takeover of the Democratic Party happening. Just the way the DNC is organized, the way the DCCC is organized. Yeah. Their first priority is to make sure the donors are happy. And by keeping the donors happy, that means you don't implement any real progressive policies. Yeah. That's the first priority of the Democratic Party. Those are their first priorities. Their last priority is maybe beating a Republican or two, because the gravy train keeps rolling whether they win or not.
Yes. There's a centrist thing on that.
So the idea of hijacking that infrastructure, is it an impossible feat? Well, not necessarily, but is it a really, really difficult feat? Yeah. But so is starting a new party. So is building the Green Party up. I mean, none of those are easy. And at the electoral politics level, no approach is going to be easy. There is no shortcut. Right. But you know, hopefully we find something that starts to work.
Or someone.
Or
right?
someone.
Like
well, it's going to be more than one person. It's not going to be one person. It's going to be more than one person. But you know, hopefully we have a few figureheads that can really, you know, really amplify things.
Right.
So yeah, and you know, I mean, I think, you know, I applaud you for, you know, trying to see if Jesse can really, you know, kind of be that person in this regard, and you know, we'll see what happens.
We're moving as fast as we can. Like I said, we are getting pushback from a few people out there. They want the perfect candidate.
Well, there is no perfect candidate.
There is no perfect candidate.
This isn't, and you know, I mean, if you're looking for that, good luck to you. And you know, I've had that conversation with people too. I mean, I've had people write off certain candidates for reasons that have just kind of blown my mind. You know, I had one somebody who I consider a friend. They told me that they don't like Jill Stein. I said, well, why don't you like Jill Stein? And the reason was she seemed kind of short in an interview once, and it was
that's it. No, that's it. I would.
And I repeated it back to them, and I was like, okay, so she was kind of rushed during an interview, so she was maybe a little short with an interviewer, and you happen to know the interviewer. and that's your reason for writing her off as a politician. And they said, yeah. And I said, you know how absurd that sounds more absurd than I like Trump because he says what we're thinking. That's more absurd and intellectually lazy than that.
Right.
You realize that, right?
Similar.
Yeah, I mean, it
There's a
was pretty
similar
ridiculous. And I've heard other things that are just as ridiculous. Someone once told me they don't like Kenneth Mejia because he posted a couple selfies on his Facebook page once. And I kind of looked at that person and I said, okay, if you are going to write off any candidate for posting a selfie and showing a little bit of maybe self-involvement, you will never cast another vote in your life.
Exactly.
Because being someone,
or you shouldn't.
Oh, well, let's be real here.
Yeah.
Being somewhat self-involved, that is a prerequisite to run for freaking office.
Exactly.
You know who is somewhat self-involved? Anybody who has ever run for office, ever. Period. And well, Ron, no, there are no exceptions. I don't care. You can bring about some of the most diplomatic people that have ever held office, some of the people that have really done wonderful things. There was a certain level of self-involvement. It's human nature. I'm sorry.
Hello. The bottom line, human nature. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I fight the way I fight. I don't know if you have kids all over the country, Ron, because you are so popular like a basketball star.
I don't have kids at all, nor am I anything like a basketball star.
I'm just saying. But I have kids, and I want them, to have a better nature. I want them to have a better life. I want them to be able to go to the voting booths and the voting polls and get their information from truthful sources instead of people that are trying to get rid of Julian Assange. And by the way, Jesse Ventura and also Jill Stein and many Greens, I think all Greens, would love to pardon Julian Assange.
Sure.
I can't say that for all the Democrats. You definitely can't. You couldn't say that for all the Republicans.
No, I don't think you can say it for any of those. I
No,
don't think
any of those two
Democrats.
parties. Yeah.
Because they realize
my goal is
it
to
would
make sure my kids and everybody in the future are very well taken care of. So so as far as Julian, what do you think's going on right now with him? Do you think you think they're gonna sniper him off? I was wondering. You know
I certainly hope not. I think
that comes in my head. That's all.
I don't know. I mean, there's speculation out there that it's going to come to the head, and he's going to lose his asylum, and they're going to turn him over. It's tough to say right now. I mean, right now it's just kind of speculation that's out there. But I mean, I think something's got to happen as far as getting him to a safe place and, making sure he'll be able to exist peacefully. I would love to see a pardon happen. I just right now, being realistic, I don't see it happening. I don't see Trump doing it. I wish he would. But the problem is, even if he wanted to, which I don't think he does, but even if he wanted to, he probably wouldn't, because he knows that in this new Russiagate hysteria that we're amidst, if he tried to do anything like that, it would hurt him very much politically. And I think he knows that. So even if he did have that good inkling in him, which I don't think he does, but even if he did, it probably wouldn't happen. So it really sucks.
Yeah, the whole situation for him has been terrible. That is the greatest indication of that. The mainstream media is got to be the greatest enemy to all of us. Because they have the most powerful hand. They have the media.
Yeah, I mean, I think media reform, and that's why I've been really into media reform issues for over a decade. I mean, I think the media structure we have, I think technically it should be illegal, because I don't think that any organization that's owned by Comcast or owned by the Murdoch empire should be able to just pass itself off as an objective news organization. I mean, other countries don't do that. They have actual journalistic bureaus that are kind of run by the government or some outside dedicated organization that's affiliated. And are they perfect? Absolutely not. I'm not here to tell you.
For sure, there's some oversight.
I'm not here to tell you the BBC's perfect. It's not. No. But is it a hell of a lot better than the structure we have? Oh my God, absolutely.
Don't we have like the FCC or something like that? It's kind of the FCC.
We have the FCC. I mean, yeah, I mean they do oversight, but I mean that's a
Yes.
totally different. They do nothing in regards to content. I mean, we
Yeah.
have the cable news networks they're not news agencies, they're PR agencies.
But
That
you
is just
can't cuss though.
definitionally
You
what
can't
they are.
cuss. They come down on you if you say the how many words that George
Oh
Carlin
yeah,
said?
the seven dirty words.
7 dirty
But
words.
yeah, I guess they do that.
You know,
Yeah.
they'll come down on you on that. But if you start speaking the truth, then no, that's a no as well. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Are we about how much time we going here for? I kind of have to run.
Oh my God, we've been along. Hey, listen, if you need to get going, I truly appreciate it. I'm just saying
All right.
this is totally awesome that you came on here. It's, like I said, everybody, Tim has these plumbing problems recently. He's told
Yes,
everybody
his basement flooded.
his basement flooded, so he's
Yeah,
scrambling, getting all
I
the
think
stuff. He said
a bunch of equipment got hammered and stuff. Yeah, it sucks. I feel bad.
Yeah, he left me 2
Tim's
messages
a
on
good
my
dude.
cell, and I tried to call him back. Said no problem, bro. Just whenever you can. We all have things we have to do, and honestly, Ron Placone coming on the Montauk show. You got to know this. The reason why I do this is because you said it earlier. We are at that moment. We are at that precipice. You know, like in the movie, what is that? The Day the Earth Stood Still. John Cleese is talking to that great actor, Keanu Reeves, right? We are at the precipice where they're at the chalkboard. If we don't make a dramatic change right now, there's just no stopping our climate. There's just no stopping the political corruption that's happening. It's just getting out of control at an immense rate that may not be stoppable. You know, it's like stopping a bullet with your hand at this point. We're going to need more hands. The more hands you have to stop that bullet, the better it is. But Ron Placone, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me
today. I truly appreciate it, dude. Do you like Montauk with James? Is it fun? Is it cool? Is it all right?
This is a blast, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Got some good people.
But
best if you don't mind, before you go, I don't think anybody has any questions. I think we've answered everything. I put in the live chat if anybody had any questions, and I'm not here. Here's some. Every time you shop in Walmart, no, that's something else. Why do you hate the troops? Why shop at Walmart? No, we have no questions. But anyway, listen, I'm not going to hold you hostage any longer. I just want to say thank you so much. Mahalo nui aloha. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, man. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I had a blast, and best wishes to you and everything you do. And I didn't know you were in Southern California, man. But by all means, come out to a show sometime.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're busy tonight, but our politics night at the dojo is happening tonight at the Sycamore Tavern in Hollywood. So.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be teaching Ron, because I used to teach at Waikiki. I used to teach sailing, canoeing, outrigger canoeing, and surfing. And hopefully Ron will take me up on this, and I'll take him out and we'll do a video. But what I'd like you to do before you do that is pretend you're on a surfboard, you're laying down, and you pop up and stand up with your feet spread wide apart. Not like this. Just practice that first. Once you get that, you're riding a wave.
All right.
Surfing USA.
All right. I don't know.
I'd love to
I don't have
take
the best balance in the world, so we'll see. But thank you. I do appreciate that.
I didn't either. Just repetition, time, you'll get it. Once you get it, you're going to get hooked, though. I'm going to tell you right now.
I believe you there. I do believe you there. All right, man.
And if you do get hooked, I'll tell you what. If you do get hooked and you like it, I'll give you one of my surfboards.
Oh, that's very kind of you. You don't have to do
problem.
that, but
thank you. It's one. I'm getting some new ones and stuff. I'm getting a new paddleboard and all that stuff. So
all right,
sure,
man.
I'll give you one. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you very much. Everyone, thank you very much. Way to go. Ron Placone. All right, let me just go ahead and, as far as going off. Oh, Chad will come on and we'll go on from there. Take care, buddy. Aloha.
All right.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off. Thank you very much for coming on. I'm just going to keep this. And then I'm going to start again with the marathon, if you guys don't mind. Chad, I know you're trying to come on now, but yeah, just come on. Let me just stop this. And Chad, by the way, big part of our team here. He's our attack dog for our project. But anyway, thank you all for coming on, and I'm going to start a new show